Back in the summer, my daughter had an accident in her car, and it was only because of the fact that she had her dash cam going at the time that she managed to get it sorted out without any huge hassle from the other person involved, who said, sorry, yes, it was my fault to start with, and then afterwards on the phone said, no, it wasn't, but she had the dash cam as proof that the other person said, yes, it was my fault. Anyway, that happened last summer, and then whilst I was actually riding myself, there was a few times when I thought, oh, I really would feel safer if I had my own dash cam on the bike. So that's what I went and did. I went out and bought one, and the first one I actually got was just the biggest pile of crap ever. And to my mind, it just went to prove if it looks cheap, it probably is, and it was pretty cheap and nasty. So in the end, I went out and spent a bit more money. I think it was about 150, 160 quid, and it's one of these. So this is the dash cam that I bought. It's the A2F series dash cam, driving recorder. I think looking at the picture, it is a sports camera setup. And one of the things for me that I liked about this over and above the first one I got was the actual DVR is metal, so that's going to be a lot more robust. And the actual cameras themselves are a lot bigger, so they actually look like the old bullet cams that I remember using in my helmet many years ago. So quite different. There's a front and a rear, and there is quite a lot of wiring to sort out. The actual DVR can be mounted either in the cockpit or underneath the seat. I think for me, I'm going to mount it on the cockpit so that I can play with the recording if and when I need to, obviously when I'm not moving. And there's a remote there as well. And that's it. Now actually the very first thing I had to get sorted out, because I'm putting this on my BMW S1000XR, was to get the ignition switch to power sorted out. And there is a lead underneath the seat which is there, but it was a bit of a fiddle to get to, but I didn't want to go tapping into wires sort of underneath the headlight. But that's sorted out. Now it's just a case of taking some body work off and sorting out where I put the cameras. In all honesty, I think the wires look like a bit of a tangled mess at the moment, because you've got front and rear camera wire, power wire, remote wire, that's the actual DVR, and there's a lot of it. Still trying to decide whether I keep the DVR up front or under the seat. Undecided. In the end, I decided to keep the sort of DVR recorder bit on the front of the bike, and I've almost got the wires tied up. These are just going to be clipped together. Had all their kind of screws out so I can run them down behind the tank, or next to the tank. There's this plastic cover on top, and then got to tidy up that bit in a second. Right, both cameras are now mounted. The actual DVR recorder is mounted, and all the connections have been put away nice and tidy underneath the seat. All that remains is to get out there, ride it, and see what the footage looks like. When I first had this going, the picture wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, so I had to get it off and adjust the front, but that's perfect now. Unfortunately, despite having got the angle of the camera right, something was very obviously wrong, because the picture was very wobbly when I took off. It may have been down to the road surface, because a little bit later on, when I was recording on a much flatter surface, the picture was much more stable. But it's something I'm going to have to work on and take another look at when I go out again. Having said all that, the view from the rear camera was much better, not nearly so much wobble. So I think it's more to do with the place I've mounted it on the front of the bike. It's picking up vibration from the fairing, and that's what I'm going to change next. And these little buttons on the right hand side here, so press it and that saves the clip that's just been recording, so it won't get recorded over, and that's really useful because generally speaking you've got this here for safety. So you want to be recording things and you can go back if there's a problem or if you have had an accident. But if you're recording a video for your trip or whatever, and you want to capture that particular clip because you've just ridden somewhere interesting over a beautiful pass, great bend, whatever it is, click that button, saves that clip, will never get overwritten. So actually really, really useful. There's obviously a bit of rework to be done to get the positioning of the front camera right and stop that strange waving effect on the video. But I know it's fixable because the rear facing camera footage is absolutely fine. Now, the most important reason for putting this camera on the bike in the first place was for safety. You know, could I get decent video coverage at a reasonable price that would help me in the unfortunate event of an accident? And yes, it will. It's also a very nice to have that the video footage will also make a lovely addition to the films I make of my trips.